Gulf's filling station raided in multi-story car park. South Korea and the U.S. cut short military drills while civilians in Seoul practice against drones. And U.S. states the claim that Meta hides truth over child safety. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Fire Services Department on Tuesday seized 305 liters of illicit oil in the Wong Tai Sin multi-story car park, involving an estimated market value of $10,500. Mimosa Ngai reports.
In the operation, the FSD intercepted a man at Fongda Shopping Centre's car park. An oil tank is placed in the trunk of the white van while a tube is connected to a nozzle and oil gauge in the back seat. The man was arrested on suspicion of breaching the Fire Services Regulation, Dangerous Goods Ordinance, and Dangerous Goods Regulation. The car park is situated in a residential area close to Phong Duc Estate and Lung Pung Court. Some residents are concerned about their safety after hearing an illicit petrol station was raided in their neighborhood. As of July, the FSD recorded an average of about 1,000 public reports on illegal petrol station operation, a yearly increase of 80%. A senior FSD officer says that illicit fueling can lead to grave consequences if accidents happen, including an emission of toxic gas and smoke. Speaking of prevention methods, the FSD proposes amendments to the Fire Services Ordinance by raising the maximum penalty for illicit fuel sellers to a jail sentence of 3 years and a fine of $3 million. For buyers, authorities suggest a penalty of $1 million and a year behind bars. Mimosa Ngai, TVB News.
A large dog that mauled a smaller dog to death at a shopping mall in Yuen Long was allegedly allowed to roam freely by its owner. An animal welfare group, however, says the owner was unaware of the incident when the attack occurred. The Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department says if the owner surrenders the dog to the government, the department may consider euthanizing it.
The large dog in question lives in Tongxing Lei, about 1 kilometer from the Yuen Long shopping mall where the attack took place. A metal fence can be seen outside the house with a hole at one section. Residents said the owner keeps 2 dogs, both are allowed to roam freely. The larger dog is frequently seen wandering around the village. A resident there says there used to be 2 dogs, but in recent months they haven't seen them as much. Some residents say they also saw the larger dog out and about on the day of the incident, noting it might have made its way to downtown Yuen Long. According to the animal rights group, which has been in touch with the dog's owner, the dog named Larry is a Spanish Mastiff. The group says Larry had been abandoned by its previous owners 3 times. A volunteer with the Paws Guardian Rescue Shelter says on the day of the incident, the owner was at work and wasn't home. The AFCD gave him an abandonment form, effectively asking him to surrender the dog. According to AFCD guidelines, a dog that attacks a person or another animal without being provoked, causing serious injury or death, may be classified as a known dangerous dog. Such dogs are required to be neutered and fitted with a designated collar. Larry had bitten another dog at the same shopping mall last month. Speaking on a radio program, the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department says if the owner ultimately decides to surrender the dog to the government, there may be a need to consider euthanizing the dog. As concerns grow over owners allowing dogs to roam freely, the FCD says it will step up relevant publicity efforts.
South Korea's military announced that the joint U.S.-South Korea military exercises, originally scheduled to end next Thursday, will be moved up to this Friday. This as the Wall Street Journal reported that U.S. President Donald Trump plans to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in the fall. Tracy Furness reports.
The joint military exercises named AUG Freedom Shield between the United States and South Korean military was originally scheduled to last 11 days in 2 phases. The first phase this week focused on responding to attacks and defences, while the second phase, starting next week, would concentrate on counter-attack operations. It was originally scheduled to end next Thursday. However, the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff indicated on Wednesday that the military exercises will be significantly shortened and will end on Friday. Yonhap news agency reported this is the first time a military exercise has been halted midway. Reuters, citing the South Korean military Wednesday, stated that adjustments were agreed upon by both countries at the suggestion of the United States. Reuters also quoted a U.S. Department of Defense official saying that some exercises and live fire drills were cancelled or replaced with simulations. Trump previously posted on social media that he asked the Department of Defense to drastically reduce the scale of military exercises, pointing out that they were costly and sent a completely inappropriate and hostile signal to North Korea. Meanwhile, more than 200 South Korean civilians, government and military, held a joint anti-terror drill as part of ongoing AUG exercise on Wednesday, focusing on civil defense. It focused on how civilian government and military personnel would respond to potential drone attacks on civilian properties, as well as their capability to capture in its aftermath. Mayor of Songpa District, Seo Kyang-suk, said, "There is no clear front line in modern warfare. That's why it's important to strengthen joint response capabilities with civilians, government and military sectors, responding to disaster together," he said. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
China has successfully recovered the first stage of a reusable rocket for the first time. The Zhuque-3 rocket blasted off from northwest China on Wednesday morning, and its first stage was recovered as planned. Ellie Chen reports.
The Zhuque-3 Y2 rocket blasted off at 7:35 a.m. Beijing time from the Dongfeng Commercial Space Innovation Pilot Zone in the northwest. The rocket was independently developed by private Chinese company Land Space. About 2 minutes after liftoff, the rocket's first and second stage separated, with the second stage carrying satellite into its designated orbit, and the first stage entered the return phase as planned. At an altitude of about 70 meters above the ground, its 4 legs developed and it landed at the recovery site, marking China's first successful land-based control recovery of a rocket's first stage using deployable landing legs. Experts say recovering a rocket is like dropping a pencil from 100 kilometers above the ground into a pen holder and making sure it doesn't fall over. The mission follows the successful sea-based net recovery of the Long March 10B's first stage on July 10th. Elon Musk's SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin have been recovering rockets since 2015, helping driving down launch costs by reusing hardware that would otherwise be discarded. Japan is also seeking to catch up in the technology. On July 10th, Japan conducted the first test flight of an experimental reusable rocket, which took off and safely landed. Ali Chen, TVB News.
Meta is once again on trial over dangers its platforms may pose to children. It is once again arguing that it works tirelessly to keep them safe. The pivotal trial for the parent company of Instagram and Facebook kicked off in a California federal court Tuesday, with 4 states seeking billions of dollars in damages as well as fundamental changes to how Meta runs its platforms. Tracy Furness has more.
Attorneys General from California, Colorado, Kentucky and New Jersey arriving at the courthouse in Oakland, California. They are seeking a financial penalty that could, in theory, total to as much as $1.4 trillion, plus changes to how the company operates Facebook and Instagram. The lawsuit accuses the social media giant of contributing to the youth mental health crisis by knowingly and deliberately designing features that addict children to its platforms. It also argues that Meta routinely collects data on children under 13 without their parents' consent in violation of federal law.
We laid out our case today, which is essentially this, that Meta has designed and deployed a dangerous product with dangerous features that they knew would create excessive use and compulsive use by children, and it would create mental health harms, including things like anxiety and depression, like body image issues, like addictive tendencies, like learning loss. They knew all of that. They knew their product was dangerous, and they lied to the public. They lied to Congress.
Outside the courthouse, people hold up a sign filled with names of young people.
Behind us, justice is going to be served. The courtroom doors are open, and it is time that the public see what the executives at Meta have known all along, that their products are designed to addict and harm children.
Coco was 12 when she opened Instagram for the first time in 2017, 4 years before the world learned what Meta already knew. Instagram was harming teenage girls. By her teens, she could not look away. Her scrolling became depression, then anxiety she could not escape.
The trial is expected to last 6 to 8 weeks, and CEO Mark Zuckerberg is expected to testify. Meta says it has a strong case of protecting teens. This case is the latest in a flood of lawsuits targeting Meta and other social media companies over child protection. Earlier this month, a New Mexico court ordered Meta to pay $569 million to address harm to young children as part of a trial there. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, Washington sanctions International Criminal Court top officials. And Ocean Park opens a new home for reptiles. Welcome back. The U.S. announced that it has sanctioned International Criminal Court President Tomoko Akane and another ICC lawyer. The ICC said Washington's actions were a blatant attack on the independence of the global judicial organization. Timothy Lee reports.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on Tuesday that Washington has imposed sanctions on International Criminal Court President Tomoko Akane from Japan and Abdoulaye Seye, an ICC senior trial lawyer from Senegal. The pair have been banned from entering U.S. soil. The U.S. government also froze all assets within U.S. territory belonging to the ICC president and lawyer and severed their links to American financial systems. Washington noted the individuals directly engaged in efforts to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute officials whose governments have not consented to ICC jurisdiction. The U.S. also condemned the ICC for issuing an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, with a Hague-based court having accused the Israeli leader for engaging in war crimes. Washington's statement further called the tribunal corrupt and politicized, adding that the ICC is misusing its powers to investigate and judge politicians and military personnel from the U.S. and Israel. This as the tribunal criticized the U.S.'s latest move for endangering international order.
Today, the court is facing existential threat from the United States in the form of sanctions. Other persons, including judges, could be unilaterally designated by the U.S. administration at any time, consecutively and in an escalating manner, or at once. I come today before you because the court needs the support of the European Union to survive in the next few years.
Established in 2002, the ICC was created to prosecute war criminals and individuals for international crimes involving genocide and crimes against humanity. Despite its jurisdiction across more than 100 nations, the U.S. is not a member state of the International Court. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
A Hong Kong court sentences a minibus driver to community service of 200 hours after his vehicle hit a pedestrian that led to her death. The sentencing is held at Kwun Tong Magistrates Court. On September 21st of last year, the 66-year-old driver was traveling on Choi Ping Road, Kwun Tong, before hitting an 80 and 83-year-old female passerby. The woman passed away at hospital 7 days later. The driver was initially charged with dangerous driving causing death, but the sentence later changed to careless driving. The magistrate's court judge sentences the driver to community service of 200 hours and a 6-month car license suspension after considering the driver's age and his clean criminal background record. The Customs and Excise Department arrested 2 mainlanders on suspicion of importing 200 live birds at the Lo Wu control point. The birds are worth about $20,000. Authorities on Tuesday intercepted 2 mainland travelers, aged 33 and 51 respectively, at the arrival hall of the control point. After examination, a batch of suspected illegally imported live birds contained in bird cages was seized from each of their personal baggage. The 2 passengers were arrested and the case was handed over to the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department. Ocean Park is unveiling its first ever pavilion dedicated entirely to reptiles, featuring nearly 20 species. From endangered living fossils, which have been particularly valuable for scientists studying reptile evolution, to color-changing chameleons, the park hopes the new pavilion helps visitors see these cold-blooded creatures in a different light.
The new reptile territory opening this Friday showcases nearly 20 species of reptiles. Among them is the Chinese crocodile lizard, a critically endangered species first discovered in Guangxi, China. Its nickname as a living fossil comes not because it can remain perfectly still on a branch, but because the species has existed for more than 100 million years. But when danger strikes, it can hide in the water for up to half an hour. Then there's panther chameleon from Madagascar. Its 2 eyes can move independently, giving it an almost 360-degree view of its surroundings. This blue-tongued skink may look intimidating, but it is non-venomous. Its vivid blue tongue is to startle predators and hopefully buy itself enough time to make an escape. Some of these reptiles were confiscated by authorities during enforcement operations against illegal animal trading.
Our conservation and educational display, and as well as our animal caretakers talk, we aim to raise the public awareness about the specialist skill for reptile husbandry and the negative impact of the illegal trading of protected animal species.
If you want some closer encounters, a rotating lineup of these star reptiles will make special appearances here alongside their caretakers at scheduled daily time slots.
Visitors can also take part in interactive Q&A sessions with caretakers, learning about everything from the reptiles' everyday habits to some of their strangest secrets.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.